Hey, good morning. It's Keeping It Real with Daisy, and it's your girl, Tina Carlyle. Every third Monday, I have been roped into doing my own show every third Monday, and it's called Beyond the Scopes, Vitals, and Voices with Tina Carlyle. So happy Monday. I do want to give a special shout out because today is my anniversary. My husband and I, we are celebrating 18 years of love, life, and marriage together. So happy anniversary, Mr. Carlyle. Thank you so much for dealing with me for so many years. And I guess I better thank myself for dealing with you as well. How about that? So anyway, marriage is great. Life is good. So glad to be here with you guys today. For all you listeners that are listening, today you will not have an opportunity to call in. I apologize in advance. Let's talk about what's coming up for our lovely Bethune-Cookman University. October 25th is our homecoming, Hail Wildcats. So make sure you get your tickets. Make sure you get your seasonal tickets. I'll come back next month and talk to you more about that as well. Seasonal tickets are available. Please get your seasonal tickets for the game. Today, we have a wonderful person on the show. She is actually near and dear to my heart. Her name is Carmen Clark. Carmen Clark, welcome. Thank you for being here so much. Carmen Clark is actually a master's prepared business entrepreneur and healthcare professional. She actually received her bachelor's degree at Bethune-Cookman, so she is an alumni. Hail Wildcats to Carmen. And then she went on to get her master's as well in health administration and business administration. Thank you so much. Carmen has one son. Carmen is an advocate. She is a major advocate for those that have disabilities and for seniors and for children. Carmen is a huge advocate, period. She's an advocate for doing what's right. She's an advocate for and she works and assists with the NAACP, as well as she works at Medallion Healthcare.
Yes.
She's employed at Medallion Healthcare. So Carmen, with no further ado, today's show is about access to accessibilities, or the fight for fair parking. You know, you and I one day had a conversation. Actually, we were on the phone talking, and you were so bothered because you were I remember it like it was yesterday. You were so bothered about the fact that someone was parked in a handicapped parking space that did not have a sticker, and you actually watched the person get out of the car on another occasion that had a sticker, but they walked just fine right into the store, right? And I wanted to have you on the show because it bothered me. It bothered me because I've watched your journey, and I've watched you. The greatest thing that I think keeps you moving is your great attitude, your desire to be strong and to thrive and to live. And I love that about you. And I hope I don't get emotional because I'm such a big crybaby. But let's talk a little bit about, before we get into the accessibility of fair parking, the fight for accessible parking. Before we get into that, do you mind sharing a little bit about your story and how you ended up needing to use accessible parking?
Well, as you know, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It's a disease that's debilitating. It depends on each individual.
Okay.
I was walking, up walking, with this disease. But however, you deal with the exacerbations, which is a relapse with this disease.
Okay.
So you can have those relapses and come back up just like you were before. And sometimes with the relapse exacerbations, you may not.
Okay.
So at one point, this all comes from fracturing my legs, and that will cause me to be in a scooter.
Okay.
However, working with the agency before, Medallion Disability Solutions, my CEO, she was like, Carmen, you need to be on a scooter.
Yeah.
You know, don't have yourself out here struggling to get out of your vehicle, you know, going into a store, you're parking way off and you can barely get there. So the desire to have a scooter I did not want.
Okay.
You know, however I did. So that's how I come about being on a scooter with an accessible van that has a ramp that comes out. And my doctor said that I needed a place card that you hang in your car that allows you to be able to park in accessible parking.
Okay.
So that's how I came about being, you know, a person that needed accessible parking.
Okay. So now, and I heard you say that it was something that you needed, but it was something that you didn't want at the time. And if I can say this, I believe it was because your desire to still want to walk, to still want to, you know, be on your feet, to still want to be as independent as you can.
Right.
But it was your strength and your desire to not want to have to lean on somebody else.
Right.
So that's totally understandable. I get it. But I want to talk about the frustration that I saw, that I heard in you one day in your voice when we were on the phone, of how difficult of a time you have, and I didn't realize it. And I wanted to bring this show live because people need to hear this. People need to hear it. They need to respect it. They need to understand that it's your entitlement. It's your entitlement along with those that actually need that accessible parking.
Right.
So share with me, if you will, when it comes to accessible parking, the first thing I want you to share with me is, does every business, is it mandated that every business have accessible parking?
Well, if you have 1 to 25 parking spaces in your building, yes, by law it's required for you to have one accessible parking.
Okay.
And then after that, you come 25 to 50,
Okay.
you have two accessible parkings. It is beneficial for you, if you have 2 accessible parking, to have one regular accessible parking, then accessible parking that allows a person with a van with the ramp to come out.
Okay. I like
Okay, so for every 25 parking spaces, there has to be a parking space. Like if you have 1 to 25,
So 25. It's every 25, not every 15.
No, it's every 25.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that for me.
25 to 50, you add, then 50 to 75, right, you keep adding up.
So I remember when we purchased our building and I wanted to make sure that my parking space was correct. And you know, came out and told me, nope, this is not correct. So we actually had to have someone to come out and paint the accessible parking correctly because it wasn't marked correctly. Can you tell us, what is the correct marking of accessible parking? Because I had a real tiny little sign, I had a little tiny little marking, and you corrected me because I want to make sure that I don't get in trouble. So talk to us a little bit about what is the correct marking for accessible parking.
Well, the marking is the feet. It's like 8 feet.
Okay.
And then for the van, it's so many inches, which I cannot remember at
Because you have
this
to
time.
go out.
Right,
Your van has to go out.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So the parking has to be 8 feet.
8 feet. Okay.
Yes. And then the van accessible parking, the inches and feet are a little bit more wider and different.
So you have the van that's going in the parking space, and then off to the right, then you have the ability, it's almost like another car lane in order for your van to, your ramp to come out.
Yes, it has to be enough inches and feet for the ramp to come out and for the person to be able to come out
safely
and not go into another parking space.
Gotcha.
And also you cannot, if you have 2 accessible parking, you cannot have a regular parking in between those parking spaces.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. Okay, so now we know what accessible parking should look like. We also know how many spaces. Girl, you're going to have me going to these stores. Terrence, I know you're going to do it. We're going to be going to stores now from now on, looking at these places and these businesses to see, do they have proper accessible parking?
Yes.
Because it's important and
Right.
it's necessary. Because we've got to make sure that everybody's included.
Right.
Everybody's included. And you are the one that has helped me over the years make sure that I'm being mindful of making sure that when we go places or we do things that it's accessible for you.
Right.
Because that's important to me.
Right.
That's important. That's important for me to continue to make you be inclusive,
Right.
included, and be a
Right.
part.
Right.
Because you, like all the rest of us, deserve to have the same life enjoyments.
Right.
You know, and I would hate to have to not have you present somewhere because the accessibility is not available. And the accessibility is your entitlement. So
Right.
let's talk about those that have, and I see it all the time. You see it more than I do because you pay attention to that. But let's talk about the people that might be taking care of mom and grandma that have those accessible parking, but then they take advantage of it and they use it
Right.
for themselves when they don't need it.
Right.
Let's chat about that a little bit, and let's talk about how it actually hurts those of you who actually need a parking space. Even this morning, you and I had to come early to block off some space to make sure you were going to have proper parking. Why? Because I needed to make sure that it was safe for you to come in.
Right.
Okay. And I like that the gentleman also was aware that you needed the space and the parking, and it was a place that we probably shouldn't have been parking, but it was made readily available to you.
Absolutely.
That's what we should be doing.
Right.
So let's talk about how people take advantage of these. And I'll be honest, when my grandmother was living and I had her sticker, every now and again I would take advantage of that. But also I wouldn't do it that often because I knew that I was a person that I never liked parking close up to a store.
Right.
Like I needed to walk a little bit for exercise sake and just to stay healthy. But let's talk about those people that take advantage. Speak to the people that take advantage of those accessible parking spaces.
Well, yeah, it's unfortunately because when an athlete has an injury, sometimes doctors will issue those hang tags for them to be able to park in a accessible parking. And then you do have young people who do use grandma, auntie, or whoever has a disabled hang tag. And also I have to remember that a disability is seen and unseen. A person may have extreme asthma issues and they need that parking also because they can't walk far. But I always say going somewhere is like a lottery to find an accessible parking.
Wow.
Whenever I am able to find an accessible parking, I always say, thank you, Jesus. I thank him. I thank him because sometimes I have to make my own parking space. I have to do two parking because my ramp has to come out. So safely, and it's unfortunate that people do take advantage of this, and doctors, I feel that they just want to satisfy their patients. If the patient asks for something, they give it to them. I mean, I don't know because I'm not in their office, but people do take advantage of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would agree with you to a certain point with that. I do believe we do have some providers that, to avoid hearing their patient's mouth, to avoid getting into a conflict or not having that tension, it's easier just to write the script and be done with it.
Right.
And we've got to stop doing that because we got to start holding people accountable.
Right.
All right. The doctors and the providers have to be responsible enough to say, no, this space is for X, Y, and Z, and take them through that actual evaluation to see if they actually really qualify.
Right.
Because a doctor giving somebody a hang tag that has obesity, let's work with them to lose weight, right?
Absolutely.
Let's work with them and place them on a food plan.
Right.
Let's get them a personal trainer. Let's get them in the gym. Let's do some things that's going to help them better themselves versus us as healthcare professionals becoming enablers
Right.
for those that can actually things that can be modified, right?
Right.
Your condition can't be modified.
Right.
But somebody that's overweight, it can be modified.
Right.
It can be modified 100%. Somebody that has a injury or just lazy because they want to use grandma and grandma, no, that is not right. We have to stand for what's right, and we have to learn that we got to respect
Right.
these accessible parking spaces.
Right.
We have to learn to respect the accessible parking spaces. If you don't need the parking space, do not park in an accessible parking space. And I'm saying the word accessible parking because that's the proper language to use. Carmen has corrected me because I used to say handicap parking space or disabled parking space. That is not the correct term. The correct verbiage is accessible parking space.
Right.
So let's make sure that we're respecting those spaces. Okay?
Right.
Now, and I don't want to bash or bang on my healthcare professionals and providers at all.
Right.
But I want us to be more accountable to those that are in need.
Right.
100%. Because if you are a person or someone else is a person that needs that space, and I'm taking up the space because I'm overweight and I'm lazy and I just don't want to walk, that is not me being responsible or accountable to those that are in need and those that are entitled to honestly have that space.
Right.
So we're going to take a quick break really quick, and we'll come back to you in just a second. I am Tina Carlyle with Beyond the Scope, Vitals and Voices. We are back. I am Tina Carlyle with Beyond the Scope, Vitals and Voices, and I'm here with Carmen Clark, super excited to talk about accessibility and having access to what she is entitled to herself, along with so many others that have
Right.
disabilities. But her disability is not an inability to her, because Carmen is an advocate. She is a voice for those. She is 100% a voice for those with disabilities. We have some challenging conversations sometimes, some conversations sometimes that honestly bring me to tears. And you know, Carmen, let's talk about buildings and restaurants and restrooms. Sometimes we walk into places and the bathroom is not accessible. But what I like is you do what I love, and that's pre-planning. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about your pre-planning when it comes to going to restrooms or restaurants that may or may not be accessible for you. What's your pre-planning?
Well, first of all, I would make a phone call.
Okay.
To find out if the restrooms are accessible. And my accessible is different from other people's accessible, because an accessible restroom is where you could go in and do a 360 turn in it, in and out, open access, be able to wash your hands, reach for paper towels, reach for the soap, and exit out. Okay. I always ask that question. Okay. And I also, pre-plan, because I have my own
hygiene items
that I take with me just in case the toilet is not 17 inches from the ground. It may be 16 or 14. And when I see that, I say, oh, this is for kindergartners.
So that's too low.
Yes.
If it was that low for you, because the height should be about 17 or 18 inches from the ground. Okay,
right.
That's good to know.
ADA has it where 17 inches. It can be 16 and a half inches. However, 17 inches would be better for a person that is able to transfer from wheelchair to toilet, scooter to toilet. However, I do, as you know, have my own personal things that I take with me, so I could be able to use the restroom just in case the toilet is not at that height. And everything else, the cleaning and everything you have to do afterwards. So, and also I let people know that I am on a scooter when I go into a restaurant or wherever I am at, so I could be able to have open access to get to the table, sit to the table and enjoy, be included with friends, family. I mean, that, because you're with me, and you yourself call ahead because you really care.
Yeah.
You care. You
I
want
need
me
to
to
know.
be.
Yeah.
You want me to be included with you.
Yeah, and I don't want you to be frustrated.
Right.
And matter of fact, when I'm thinking about frustration, I remember we were having a board meeting one time, and I'm not going to call the restaurant name out,
Right.
but we went to a particular restaurant, and I was just getting there, and the other board meetings, board members, you and Sharon, y'all were already there. You recall what I'm talking about.
Right.
You guys were already there, and I didn't realize that there was a little bit of commotion going on between the young lady that worked at the restaurant and you. And what ended up happening when I walked in, the young lady was so rude to Carmen. And Carmen was basically trying to explain to her what type of seating we needed to have, because she, of course, can't sit at any kind of seating. And this lady was so rude. So then when I tried to interject coming in on the back end, and none of us, so let's, put that out there on the platform. None of us were rude. None of us were rude. She was just impatient. She was unkind. She was not thoughtful, very disrespectful. So I knew then, without trying to become frustrated or get Carmen more frustrated, that I was going to handle it. So I said, Carmen, Sharon, let's go sit down. And when we sat at the seat, I said, I need to speak to a manager. The manager was so pleasant, was so nice,
Right.
because I know how that made you feel.
It was like she was
And
talking
that bothered
over me.
She totally talked over you. She totally didn't care. That bothered me, and I didn't want anything to escalate either,
Right.
because you've got to protect yourself. And when
Right.
someone doesn't respect you in a situation that you're in, that you don't feel like you put yourself in and you wish you weren't in, that would make you frustrated. That would make you angry. Like every fiber in your body every hair would just stand up.
Right. Yes. And I recalled that, and I was frustrated because it was like, of course, I'm sitting lower than everybody. Everybody's standing over me. It's like she was talking over me as if I was invisible. And the frustration was there because, yes, it was going through me, and I was trying to keep myself calm because I was like, okay, Carmen, you go through this, you know how to deal with this, and then when you came in, you kind of like start interjecting, and it kind of like calmed me because that was like right on time.
Yeah.
Because all we wanted to do was sit to a table, and for me to explain to her that I need to sit to a table where I can have open access to go in and not have to be going in and around. Excuse me.
And it was so funny because the first thing I said when I walked in, I'm like, Carmen is really giving her the business. What is going on? I've got to stop this. And I'm so glad I didn't say anything to you, because I probably would have made you feel worse. Knowing that this young lady already made you feel bad, and you probably was internally counting to 10.
Yes.
So things wouldn't escalate.
Right.
But we ended up getting our breakfast, brunch, whatever you want to call it, free. The manager was very, very, very sincere. I think she was very sincere
and concerned.
And sympathetic about what she said.
Right.
So, and to the point to where they sent the young lady home. We watched her grab her purse and leave because our waitress shared with us that, you aren't the first one. This has been going on all morning.
Right.
This is almost all the time with
Right.
her. And I'm like, why do you have people like that in your establishment? People fail to realize sometimes when you have somebody that's a benign cancer, they become a malignant tumor, and it can just spill over into other people.
Right.
Or it can spill over in the customers, and the next thing you know, you got gunshots going off. People don't understand or know. I can finally say that I understand why people go postal. I'm dead serious. I know y'all probably think I'm crazy with saying that, but I can finally say that I totally understand why some people go postal. Because you're tried over and over again. You're tested. You're trying your best to give your all. You're trying your best to be your best. You're trying your best to wake up every morning and say, okay, Lord, I can do this.
Right.
I got it. But you've got so many other obstacles that are standing in your way that people don't even know, and they'll test your patience.
Right. Because when I bring up something, I'm talking for others because I do know I'm not the only person in the world with a disability. There are people who are visually impaired. There's people on scooters. There's people that's on walkers. There's um, people who are deaf and hard of hearing. So when I'm talking and bringing up something, it's on behalf of everyone
Yes.
with a disability. My main thing is for Volusia County, Daytona Beach. Entire Volusia County is for to be inclusive. If when I go somewhere, I am looking. That's all I do is I look. I'm like, okay, things could be better in here.
Yeah.
They can make it better in here because I'm not going to be the only person that's coming. I may be the first person,
Right.
and I can make them aware. But I also remind people, we age. Everybody gets older. You don't know the circumstances when you hit the age of 60, 70, 80. You may be on a rollator. You may be on a scooter. You
That
don't
walker
even know.
can't go up steps.
Right. Right.
It may not be able to go up steps, like you said. That rollator, that scooter can't
Right.
can't go up steps. People got to be considerate of that, and we are not until we're placed in that situation.
Right. Until you are placed in that situation. And when I say that, people say, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. We have to think about that. We have to think about, because Daytona Beach, Volusia County, period, is a place where senior citizens come. And you have a lot of people I see on scooters with rollators or canes, and they're walking in and out of stores. So, and of course I'm watching. I'm like, okay, I hope this lady don't trip over this because this could be better. But, it's just one day at a time, and something that I am passionate about when it comes to, people with disabilities, be it a child, a youth, an older person, so.
So, even before all this happened to you, I remember you worked at a certain place. You were a child's advocate at that time. So you were advocating for children.
Right.
So you've never stopped in your 30 years of employment, 30 plus years.
Right.
30, how many years you've been advocating for?
38.
38 years. You've never stopped being. You're like, woo! You're only 38. Okay. And if you 38, I'm 28. All right.
Right.
But you've never stopped advocating for people. And that's the thing that I think I love about you so much. And I hope that someone is listening today on this show, that I'm going to challenge somebody on this show today that's listening that will reach out to Carmen. And I'm going to give your number out because I'm sure you're okay with that, right? It is 386-589-2239. To just be an advocate for her, to fight with her on her behalf and on others' behalf, because there is many other things that Carmen can benefit from if she had the capability, if she had the wherewithal. And we've got to learn to be more supportive of those that are in need. Because what we fail to realize, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this because y'all know I'm a healthcare provider and healthcare practitioner, if you will. I want to talk about how mentally, how physically, and how emotionally it is so draining
Right.
for you to be pretty much waking every day with your hands tied, almost feeling like you're in handcuffs.
Right.
One thing I will say is I don't know how you feel, but I empathize with you. And I'm hoping to try not to get emotional, but I empathize with you. I'm here for you. I will always be there for you, and I will always fight for you.
Thank you.
And I don't ever want you to give up. I don't ever want you to give in. I've been through times where you've had those hard days and we've had those hard conversations, and they were some heavy blows, and I was not giving in, and I was not allowing you to give up.
Right.
And we've had those conversations. And I remember you don't know this, but I was so frustrated in my office. You and I had a heated conversation one day. because I felt like you were giving in. And I say, Carmen, you can't give up. You got to fight because you have a reason to live. You have a reason to keep going. And I was in that office and I was praying so hard to God to give you the strength, to give you the wherewithal, to not allow you to give up on yourself, not allow you to not have hope and not have the desire to want to keep on.
Right. Well, I mean, multiple sclerosis is a beast of a disease. And it's just dealing with this disease every day and wanting to be in the community, be able to go to a job, be treated the same as others, and not saying, oh my gosh, what's going on with you? Oh, and I say, oh, I was diagnosed with MS, and Dawn said, don't do that because
don't feel sorry for you.
Right, because I am able to get around and go from place to place. Yes, there, like you say, there has to be a pre-planning. I have to call and ask questions, about accessibility. Am I able to get into your restaurant or into your venue? I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, like, even if I want to go to a concert, the frustrating part is looking for an accessible area at the concert. Majority of the time, all of those are taken, and I'm like, okay, I can't go to that concert because, of course, I'm going to need to be able to get open access in and out of the concert, be able to sit like everybody else and enjoy the concert. But, travels, I do have a cousin who is a disability travel agent because she's has a disability herself. She's traveled the world. She wanted me to go to Dubai with her, but I'm like, I was afraid.
So let's talk about that. Let's pause right there and talk about the fears that you have with your scooter, because I know I had an event at my office and it wasn't 100% equipped for you, but I did everything in my power because I needed you there. I wanted you there. I wanted you to have that experience with us, what we were doing for that particular day for women. And I even planned it all out with you, but you weren't comfortable. Let's talk a little bit about the fears that you have, which is inclusive of those others with disabilities. Let's talk about the fears that you have, and then I want to talk a little bit about your cousin that has the travel agency for those with disabilities. So let's talk a little bit about the fears and how you're overcoming your fears, because they've gotten better. But let's talk a little bit about the fears that you still have with your disabilities.
It's just the fears are like, you on a scooter, a scooter is not as strong as other like electric wheelchairs. The fear of tumbling over, not having anybody there when you tumble over, and going up ramps. Because we had that experience.
Yeah, that almost happened last week with us, right? And
yes.
It kind of dropped my heart, because when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, like you literally almost did a wheelie. We can laugh about it now, but you literally almost did a wheelie, and I'm like, woo, Carmen, like, I'm like, what are you doing? You act like you're riding a motorcycle.
Right, because...
But you didn't do that purposeful.
No, I didn't.
So explain to those of us and others that are using scooters some safety measures, because that was something that you then told me that you should have done. What?
I should have backed into my van instead of going forward, and I was going very fast because I was ready to go. I was ready to get in my van and do what I needed to do to get into my seat and drive off.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have done that. I should have done it the right way to back into my van instead. If you have a scooter, don't travel fast on sidewalks or uneven spaces, because you may flip over,
I see people hauling tail on them scooters. I'm like, oh my God.
Because our sidewalks are not even. They should be even. Everywhere does not have open access to get into their buildings.
Okay.
You got to figure out, okay, how I'm going to really get into this building. Am I going to be able to go onto the sidewalk, or if I'm going to be able to go out in the street and then go up on the sidewalk? You have to figure all of that out. And that's the fear with me, right? I don't, going through the parking lots, the fear of someone hitting you.
Yes.
Because it seems like people, you on a scooter.
Just like this morning.
Yes.
I had to say to you, Carmen, I need you to get closest to the sidewalk. Let me be in the road. I'd rather them hit me. I didn't want them to hit me either. Terrence, I was like, Jesus, let us get on this sidewalk quick. I don't want to get hit either. But I'd rather them hit me than hit you. Because I know how people can come around curves and nobody can see us.
Right.
So that was a fear this morning
that
we
was a fear. Yes,
right?
That was a fear. And even getting up on the sidewalk, I was like, okay, this is so uneven. Okay, but I have Tina here,
trying to coach you through.
Yeah, trying to coach me through to get to the door. So, those are the fears when you go places, everywhere is not brand new.
Right.
Everybody does not have the great sidewalks and all this open access, and traveling throughout my days, I also have to pinpoint what gas stations I use.
Okay.
I use the same gas stations, the Wawa and Buc-ee's, because they know me. They come out, they see my van. But even though if they didn't see my van, up under the ADA, you call, someone comes out to pump your gas.
Okay.
I also have to figure out what restrooms I'm going to use when I'm out and about. It's the same restrooms because the Wawas have great restrooms. Buc-ee's have great restrooms. There are some other places also that Publix, So I have to think about that all the time, when I'm out and about.
Okay.
So the accessibility of people, I went to a gas station up in Port Orange off of Clyde Mars. I called in, and the young lady came out. She was like, "Hi, can I help you?" I said, "Oh, I need for you to pump my gas." She was like, "Pump your gas?" I said, "Yes." I said, I said, "Look, I have hand controls." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, we've never done this." I said, "Well, this is going to be a learning experience for you." I said, "You see the wheelchair on the gas pump." I said, it says, if you need assistance to call, and that's why I called you. And she came out, and when she finished pumping my gas, I thanked her, but she's like, you know what? I really appreciate this because I have never...
She never knew what it meant.
Right. She said, I've never known that we were supposed to do this.
So how many of you out there knew? Terrence, did you know that? So how many of you out there knew that when you drive up to a gas pump and you see the handicap sticker, that means that they can push that button and call in, and someone that works in that store has to come out and pump that person gas. Or they can be reported to the ADA, and they'll actually be fined, right?
Right.
Wow. How many people really knew that? How many people really knew? I knew because of you. But there's been many times that I can picture these blue signs, and I never knew what it meant until you and I talked about it.
Right. I've gone to a gas station, and the man come out, and he was like, looking. He said, "Oh, okay. I see you do have a disability." So I asked him. I said, "Well, why do you do that?" He said, "Because we have college students coming up, don't want to get out the car. They call us to pump their gas, abusing this, so it makes us cautious and don't want and don't really want to come out and pump someone's gas because they want to stay in, be on their phones, and don't want to get out."
And now you have to be subject to an aggressive employee, an aggressive or angry employee who has experienced somebody trying to beat and whip the system.
Right.
It's again fighting for fair parking, fighting for fair access, fighting for what you're entitled to, not because you desire to be in the situation,
right? Absolutely,
but this is
not
what God has for you at this time. And I just want everybody that's listening today to have a clearer understanding. Let's not take advantage of these parking spaces. Let's not take advantage of those with disabilities. Let's not discredit those with disabilities. Let's not think that they're not as important as those that have their limbs, are able to walk and talk and do all those things that others wish they could do, because you never know what situation you may find yourself in. So we've got to learn to treat each other as we want to be treated. We've got to learn to be respectful to one another and not discredit other people.
Absolutely.
Because as you said earlier, you are on a scooter, but it also makes you be cognizant of somebody who has those stickers, who might be overweight, that needs to walk. Because a lot of times when you are overweight, your legs hurt. Or you might have neuropathy, know, and that's painful. But we need to focus on not being, not taking advantage of things. That's what we as Americans, we have to do better at. We've got to stop taking advantage of people, and we got to stop taking advantage of things. Carmen, share with the community, because everybody's going to hear this today. And I want you to be an advocate and pretty vocal about what are the 5 top things that you wish Americans would do more of, or would do when it comes to those with disabilities. What are the 5 top things?
I mean, respect.
Okay.
Allow us to be inclusive.
Okay.
Give the respect that, for the people who are independent, who are able to get around and travel, be, give someone like, yay, I'm glad you're able to do that.
Yeah. Affirm it.
Affirm and make, allow them to feel good about that. That's the thing. And as you say, I wish people stop feeling that they are entitled.
Yeah.
And I'm entitled. Okay. Yes, I'm going to use this because I just want to be treated like a person that's non-disabled.
Yeah.
Don't when I come up, like, touch my head.
Yeah. Have a pity party. You don't want a pity party.
Right. Especially, I don't like some, because I've been places and a lady have, like, pat me on my head, and I was like, is she little girl in me?
Yeah. Yeah. So respect. Respect is one of the top 5 things that you want America to do better at.
Right.
Respect. So what's some more things?
Okay. And I want more laws in place.
More laws, more rules that protect those that have disabilities.
Right. Okay. And I want data to be taken for these disability cards that you place in your car to be able to park in disabled parking. I want data to be taken for those who really don't need those, because there should be something put in place. If you are using that hang tag in your car and it was not issued to you, there should be something that you should be held accountable for.
Absolutely. And they do have those signs, like, and I had to put up that one sign that says, if you park in this space, you're going to get a $250 fine. Now, I noticed, Carmen, some of them, and you may or may not know this, but some of those signs have fines of $250, $500, $150. Why are the price? What is the difference between
that I don't know.
Okay.
And that would be something maybe I need to look into,
because I noticed that there's a difference in what they charge.
Right. That I don't know. And now you're going to have me looking into that.
I noticed that when I went and got my sign, I was actually asked, and I'm like, I don't know, I just need a sign that says this, they're going to be fine if they park there.
Right.
So that is important to know too, like why the difference in the fees or whatever the case may be. I've seen them for $250. I've seen them for. So we got 3 things. We got respect. We've got data. We've got new laws that you want to see. Give me 2 more.
That actually, I want to know when people are building in a city,
Okay.
who actually is on the ADA committee to make sure that that building,
It's wheelchair accessible.
yes, wheelchair accessible, the restrooms are wheelchair accessible. To be thinking about people, not just people that's non-disabled. When I am building, I need to know, I need to make sure that my building is wheelchair accessible.
So have you found, like, over the last, I'm gonna even take it down lower to over the last 5 years, have you found that over the last 5 years new buildings are not accessible? Because that's kind of scary.
I mean, yes, I've gone into some new buildings.
Wow.
Because the restroom, like I said, people, the accessibility, you need to, like, look into the law.
Right.
Not
building
saying
code.
right, building codes, right. And I'm saying, not, I have said my accessibility is not like everybody, but it's not me making the law. It's
Right.
the law, which I am saying that's my accessibility.
Right. So your fourth one is that you really want the new places that are coming up to make sure that they have the ADA or the building code. And honestly, rightfully so, some of them might be up to code based on what the building code says.
Right.
So it might be, Carmen, that the building code need to be updated.
Yes, and I was told by, and I'm not calling any names.
Right. Yeah, let's not do that.
Yes, by someone. No, it's someone I had a conversation with. They said that the codes need to be updated.
I would believe that. I would 100%.
Yes,
believe that.
and that would be my fifth to put together
advocate.
a committee to update the codes so places can be accessible. And also, when you go into some of these buildings that are not historical, to say to the owner, okay, we need to make sure that your restroom is accessible. We need to make sure that people are able to come into your building without
having to leave and come back. And all
yes,
that stuff.
to go to the
they got to go to the bathroom.
Yes,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's something that I would like to happen.
Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We've got to do better as a community. We've got to do better as a nation. We've got to do better as a country. We've got to do better as a people as a whole. So let's not take advantage of those that are in need of accessibility. Let's not take advantage of that. We've got a few more minutes left, but before we do that, let's go to a music break, and we'll be right back with Beyond the Scope, Voices and Vitals with Tina and Carmen. We are back with Tina Carlyle. I don't even know my name. Beyond the Scope with Vitals and Voices. And again, I want to say happy anniversary to my lovely husband and myself for 18 years.
Yay.
18 long years.
Yes.
Wow, long time.
Blessing.
Before we end the show, Carmen, I do want you to share, because this is so important, and I really want people to take this serious and to be more cognizant and conscientious of where they're parking. I don't care if it's pouring down raining. You don't have a parking sticker, do not go there. And if you do have one and it's not yours, don't overuse it. But share with us without giving names and all that stuff, but maybe a description of one of the worst times you've ever experienced. I want the worst, and then let's end with the best. Being on your scooter. Let's share, because I know they have to come out and pump your gas, and I know you had a worse experience. So share that a little bit with the listeners.
Well, I was headed to a meeting down in Edgewater, from Daytona to Edgewater, and I did have to get gas. I did go to a gas station. I will say it's in Port Orange. And I pulled up and I called. And when I called, a young lady answered the phone, and I said, "Hi, I'm here. I need someone to pump my gas." So she said to, I guess, a coworker, she said, "We need to come out and pump her gas." So they started laughing. And I said, "What is so funny?" She was like, "We don't do that." I said, "Yes, you are supposed to come out and pump my gas because there's a need. I'm a person with a disability." And she was like, "Oh, you can't pump your gas?" I said, So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to show them. I said, if you look out, you'll see a silver van. And I said, see my ramp coming out? I cannot come out. So they continued laughing. So I said, I am going to report you all. And one young lady was like, oh, she said she's going to report us. Oh, wow, we're going to get reported. So they hung up the phone.
Wow.
So
Wow.
did not pump my gas. I had to go somewhere else to get my gas pumped. You know, without an issue, no problem. They came right out. But at that gas station, they thought it was funny because I needed someone to come out and pump my gas. And it made me frustrated because I was like, here I am on a scooter. Okay, I can't even get out to pump my own gas. And I was trying to figure out if I did back my van up or pull it up some, could I actually get out my van and pump my gas? And so I was like, that's not safe for me because when I pull my ramp out, someone could pull in and hit me or run over my ramp. And then that's going to be an issue. So I said the best thing for me to do is to pull off. And of course, I was teary-eyed.
I'm sure. So share with us your best moment, your most memorable moment of not someone feeling sorry for you, but someone just really being there for you to show some true love and support.
Actually, I mean, we're not going to call restaurants anything, right? Okay.
No, we're not calling.
Actually, the time when you and Sonia and Angie, we went to this restaurant. Yes. And you made sure everything was good. And it was just like the vibe in there. I was like, you all were talking to me like I was Carmen. Not Carmen on a scooter. And we were laughing and talking and having a good time. And I mean, and of course, I mean, I have two other people in my life that care the same. You know, my cousin Connie and my friend Arletha. Whenever I go anywhere with them, it's the same thing. They make sure that I am good.
Yes.
Carmen, are you good? Okay. You know, that was one time. And I mean, there's other times too, but I really, we really had a good time and I felt good. The vibe was good. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I just feel so good. And I wasn't feeling like Carmen on a scooter.
Or you weren't feeling like they can't do what they want to do because they're afraid I can't be included. It was so inclusive. That, and I'm remembering that time.
Yes.
We had a blast. We had such a blast that I almost forgot my meeting that I had to leave and go to. I had to leave y'all to go to a meeting.
Right.
But anyway, thank you so much, Carmen, for being here on the show today.
Thank
for enlightening the community, for enlightening the people about the importance of not taking advantage of accessible parking.
Right.
Access.
Right.
But the fight for fair parking. Thank you so much for you guys listening to us. I am Tina Carlyle with Beyond the Scope of Voices and Vitals. Daisy Grimes, keeping it real. I love you, Auntie Daisy. Y'all have a magnificent week. And don't forget to go out and buy your season tickets for Bethune-Cookman University, Hale Wildcats, and Homecoming October the 25th. We want to see you on the field.